So
So
where do
we're
I
streaming
go
live
live?
now.
Are
We're
we?
streaming live now.
Woohoo!
So, yeah.
We are on live. Thank you, Dr. Scott.
So I'm Dr. Scott
Amazing.
from 6 Cents Acupuncture and the Healthy Habits Club, and you're watching the Get Busy Livin podcast. And we have the lovely Amy Livingstone today, and from Manava Wellness. Is that how you pronounce it? Manava?
Manava Wellness.
Manava
Manava.
Wellness. So much appreciated. Thank you for your time today. We had a little bit of a false start, but that's okay. We're up and running now. We're out in the back straight. So thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your time today. So Amy, I'll start off with my first question. So tell us, Amy, what gets you out of bed every day?
Well, firstly, today your podcast got me out of bed. And I just wanted to say a massive thanks for welcoming me on and also coaching me through the use of the platform, because honestly, this is the first time. And I'm very grateful that you've applied your tech wisdom and supported me into activating the whole ability to stream to my community as well. Yeah, thank you so much. What gets me out of bed every morning is, well, I have a few practices that have been part of my life for a number of years. And honestly, they do get me out of bed every morning because I love having that sense of routine and grounding to start my day. What inspires me most, why I get out of bed, is helping people, helping others with their well-being, helping them to expand their consciousness around well-being, and ideally supporting them into greater well-being outcomes in their lives.
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion. That's my vision, is to help us have a healthy and happy community. So that involves obviously helping as many people in the community as possible. So we align very much so in that vision. So much appreciated. That's awesome to hear, because I think more people should be in that same mindset, that we try and help as many people within our community. So we'll just move on to Manava Wellness. So you said that's not the only one. That's not the only business you have. So tell us, what other businesses
Oh, sure. Thank you, Dr. Scott. Manava Wellness, we kind of started, it was about 18 months ago, really. And it kind of unfolded out of an existing business we have in the corporate space around workplace wellbeing. Workplace wellbeing, supporting teams and leaders to activate better culture in their workplaces around wellbeing. And part of my journey personally with wellbeing encouraged me to found that business in 2018, late 2018, early 2019. And then post the whole pandemic period, we observed there was an opportunity perhaps to support people one-to-one or more in person rather than online in remote and hybrid environments inside workplaces, specifically small business owners and busy professionals who can really benefit from the support to pause mindfully, to create time out, to dedicate time to their well-being, to invest in their mental health and physical well-being. So Manava Wellness was really started to provide that service, to provide firstly day retreats where busy professionals and small business owners could literally just take one day. It might be a morning, it might be, a full day, where the whole day is curated around supporting their well-being, mental health reset, and recharging the internal resources. Manava means, it's really throwing to my Polynesian ancestry. My dad is from Tonga. And in Polynesia, we have a concept of well-being which is threefold: body, mind, and spirit. There is no disconnection with that. It is one whole concept of well-being. And within that, there is the layers of the individual, the family, and the community. And so we define well-being as the well-being of not just ourselves, but our family and community. And we are responsible and accountable for well-being on all those layers. So Manava really, if you want to break it down into one word, it means in English, breath. And breath is a pause. Let's think about it. When we breathe in and we breathe out,
Yep.
that's a pause. Yeah. So then there's another layer, because often Polynesia, as many cultures, have like layers of meanings with words, not so direct as in English. So the next layer of meaning is the rest. So if you breathe, then you enable yourself to regenerate, to rest. And then the deeper layer of that is extending that sense of calm, that sense of care to those around you, your community, just as you would extend it to the closest family member. So that's really the meaning behind Manava, and why I felt it resonated strongly with our intention to support business owners and to support busy professionals to better care for their well-being.
So yeah, well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Let's take a breath. And so before Manava, tell us what were you doing before? That's 2 years ago, you said.
Oh,
what were you doing before Manava?
Yeah, so we were working with the workplace wellbeing space. Before that, I was in corporate. I was working, like 80 hours a week in top tier financial services, totally burning myself out. Yeah, just no balance. I had a huge, physical health impact that also culminated in mental health impacts as well, simply by the nature of the condition. And part of my journey was actually Chinese medicine, acupuncture. Like, I cannot speak highly enough of the way that you help, individuals and families, because it is a modality that is both preventative and also non-invasive, and it has long-term effects like longevity, just so much there around organ health, the little bit that I understand of what you do. And so I was so grateful that I had that support from a Chinese medicine perspective in my health journey personally.
Well, it's also in your father's culture too. Herbal medicine also originated from the islands as well. The islanders knew about certain herbs, certain fruits, this is a tropical area, so that they have medicinal properties. So yeah, obviously a lot of trial and error. Same with the Chinese medicine, there's a lot of trial and error. So yeah, that's exactly right. And so so Chinese medicine helped you out of that, but then you also had to have your own mental fortitude and also your own want to get better, because obviously I suspect you were like me. So I went to the GP first. That's what I was told to do.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you didn't get the answers that you want, because that's usually what happens. That's what happened to me. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I was fortunate to have, a Polynesian father who, as you say, really strongly believed in the body's natural healing capabilities. So growing up with that mindset of, if we give our bodies the right conditions and support, they naturally heal. Things like always shopping at the markets, garden markets, rather than necessarily getting veggies off the shelf at Woolworths. So the priority of like fresh food as medicine, That was a really big part of our culture growing up. And herbs as well, and, natural supplement support. We also did a lot of things like he would take us out every weekend for bushwalks where we got into contact with nature, where we did mindful walking. We did meditation as kids. I didn't know it was meditation when I was like 4 years old, but then I found meditation later. I was like, oh, that's what Dad was doing with us. Okay, now it makes sense. I mean, when you have 8 kids, you kind of have to control somehow, like got to teach them mindfulness. So that was like a big part of it. And we did not have a TV growing up, like we were kind of the weird kids in that way. And that really drove us into outdoor activity, into exercise, into a lot of, like artistic activity as well. So I think that rounded approach culturally just supported us in a lot of ways to understand that there's options for health and well-being that exist beyond going to see your doctor. And whilst the doctor is great and can help you in certain ways, it's not the only answer.
Yes, yeah, that's right. This is something that we have lost, and what your father was trying to teach you, and it's the same for me. Like there's a lot of wives' tales, that it was just information that they knew prior to the Second World War. Why do I bring up the Second World War? Because the Second World War is when they introduced a lot of drugs, and they introduced industry processing of foods, and that's where it all started. So, because they were using medication on the soldiers in the battlefields, and also back in the research centers for the military personnel, but also that's when they realized we can make a lot of money if we mass produce foods. Because there was a huge shortage of food at the time, especially through Europe, because basically most of it had been decimated, been blown up. So a lot of the old heads that knew how to farm were dead. They'd been killed. So a lot of things had been lost. So this is what I'm trying to say, is that this information, the good thing about Chinese medicine is that they're very good at recording things. They're very good at writing things down. And that's what I say, is that I practice the emperor's medicines because it comes from the emperor's court. But what I'm trying to say is that if my grandparents were alive, my great-grandparents were alive, they would be able to explain, if they knew what we're eating now, they would be, they'd be slapping us saying, what are you doing? What are you doing to yourself? Because we have gradually been shown to eat garbage. We've been gradually shown to. It's interesting that you're.
It's a conditioning, I think, is what you're saying. It's a conditioning, the behavior definitely of our society around food. And I agree with you, because I would then go to my friends' houses when I was younger, and I would be like, oh my God, I didn't have McDonald's. I did not eat one little bit of McDonald's until I was 15. And when I was 15, I was like, what the hell is it? This isn't even food.
Well, we didn't have that until my teens. We just didn't have the opportunity. There was no such thing. I've heard in Sydney there was. In Sydney and Melbourne they had.
I grew up in Sydney.
Yes. So they had McDonald's and stuff. Up here we didn't have that, not until the 80s. And so I was lucky, because it wasn't really until my teen years, mid 80s, that we started to be bombarded with it. And we didn't really know what it was. The first fast food chain that I'd seen in Brisbane was Domino's Pizza. They were the first ones.
Yeah, because Mum
was
it's
very expensive. It was very expensive. In comparison to what it is today, It's pretty much the same price, but you got more for it. Because you got more for it. But it was huge. It was totally different to what it is now. Totally different.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. Yeah, my mum is a Queenslander, so we would come and visit Granddad and Grandma when I was, growing up in the 80s, and for some reason we always had Domino's.
Yeah,
that's why.
Yeah, because there wasn't anything else. There was nothing else. It wasn't until later, that they got a McDonald's here on the north side of Brisbane, famous one, and there was a Hungry Jack's as well. They built one of those. So there was one in the city, but we rarely ever went to the city. So, if we caught the train into the city, you could probably get it. But the prices that they are now, it was actually dearer. It was actually dearer to get, but now they've just made it so cheap. The prices really haven't changed, to be honest. I haven't seen the prices change a great deal in fast food, and it's by design because they've made it so horrible now, so easy to make. That's why, because they can produce it for a lot less. So why increase the price?
With your programs, like I love what you focus on in terms of healthy habits. And when you invited me on, I was like, oh my God, that resonates so deeply with me as well. Really the healthy habits that we work with about at Manava Wellness is the, mental health and mindfulness, and other some movement practices that can really support well-being. It's a healthy habit. So I'm curious, you do so much around nutrition and, how that healthy habit kind of, gets formed.
Who's asking the questions here?
I'm just throwing on back to you, if that's all right. You want me to shut
up. So, it's called a challenge. It's called a 10-week detox challenge. It is a challenge. It's not easy. So the first 2 weeks is basically getting this right. Once we get this right, then it's for the rest of your life. So it sounds hard, but it to be honest, it wasn't that hard. After I got over that perturbation of what's going to happen next, but once you get your mindset right, then it's very easy. So it includes like shout out to Laura. Laura gave me the permission to come over to her house, and we went through her cupboards and her fridge, and picked out all the stuff that is high in carbs. See, if I did that to every household, there'd be it's a bit like there was a documentary called The Magic Pill. The same thing. They were going through people's houses. And they were telling people, well, this is garbage. This is going to kill you. This is garbage. You should be eating this. And like 95% of all the stuff that poor old Laura had in the cupboards and the fridge were garbage. Sorry to say. And look, she wouldn't be the only one. I suspect at least 90% of the population will have the same fridge and same cupboard full of garbage, because it's just because we've been mesmerized, we've been brainwashed into believing that it's all good for us, and it's not.
Yeah.
So yeah, we and I teach people about that in the program as well. So I teach them about where this came from, where this information came from, where we went wrong, where the government has made mistakes, and now we need to change the way we think about food, because it's a big problem, huge problem.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love that you are really going deep into the structure, like the information, the knowledge, the structure of how we can like change our relationship with food, and maybe even start to cultivate that mindset of food as medicine. Because I just hear that so strongly through what you're sharing. And I can imagine the amazing results that clients receive by simply taking those simple steps, those small steps to slowly repair their relationship with food and the power that has in their lives. You know, we at Manava often speak about healthy habits in terms of, you know, how we structure those strategies for caring for mental health, for caring for our, you know, emotional health. Like, these are areas that I think as an Australian society, we're only just starting to open dialogue around. And of course, within that, there's also spiritual health as well. And that's not necessarily like, oh my God, I'm a Christian or I'm a Buddhist or I'm a Catholic. That is more about, where is the highest meaning in my life? Where am I really aligned with the purpose that I feel inherently is what I'm here to do? You know, that satisfaction, that deep knowing of belonging and place. You know, this is the sense of community that we hold in Polynesia, in Pacifica. You know, everybody knows their belonging and their place, and that connection is so strong to each other, to the land, to our own identity of who we are. And part of that is knowing what feeds you. What feeds you, you know, like that wisdom around, this is a crucial pillar in my identity, my well-being, my contribution, my life quality and longevity on the planet.
Yeah. So, and this is, in the Tongan culture, Samoan culture, I've got a lot of friends who are Samoan, so I worked in security for many years.
Beautiful.
So I've been to a Samoan wedding. I've been to 2 Samoan funerals, actually 3. I want to go to the weddings. I don't want to go to the funerals. And what was I going to say? It's you know, so I got to, you know a fair bit about their culture. I got to understand what the way that they think, and most of them do say exactly what you just said. You know, we would they'd have to go to the trees and climb up and pick whatever fruit they're trying to get down. When they're kids, and there's a very laid back. Now I understand why they call it Islander time, because it's a very laid back mentality. It's a very laid back mindset, that because time is nothing. It's just
construct.
You wait. You're waiting for everything to grow because you're trying to grow food because they had to do it themselves. No one else. You couldn't go to the shop. There's limited resources. So a lot of the people have to live off the land in those islander areas. They do have shops and stuff like that, but they just don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the money for everyone. That's what I'm saying. So they have to rely on their own resources, which is basically what we were like prior to the Second World War. Same with Australia. Australia was no different. It's just that now we've industrialized everything, and now we have to rely on what the government tells us and what they provide. And that includes the food industry and the medication industry as well, the big pharma. So, I resonate a lot with that, because that's what I'm trying to get back to. That's what I'm trying to tell everyone. We need to go back to that mentality. We need to go back to that. We need to know where our food is coming from, because we don't know where it's coming from. This is the big issue. This is the one. The mental health issues would drop immediately. There would be less addiction because we're eating properly. We're not eating garbage. There'd be less issues with families because we all have to work together to get the food.
And there's great connection with our Earth, our planet. I appreciate what you're saying about the islands, being underdeveloped. It's actually how we've been for so many
beneficial.
Thousands of
beneficial.
Years. Natural. We're in relationship with the land. We don't see that we need to go to the shop all the time to get staff.
Yeah.
We know the land will give us what we need. So there's not a concept that we have in Australia of like, oh, I need to be sure I can get to something to get food, because food is available. It's available outside of the construct of like the retail shop. And so that it's just a very different mindset.
That's what I'm trying to say is I can resonate with it because I get it. I think it's a better way of life. It is a better way of life. I can understand why a lot of people just pack up and go to the country because they're sick of having limited choices on what they can eat and what they can do. That's the other thing. In the country, there are a lot less boundaries.
That's been happening quite a bit. Like we've noticed that, haven't we, since the whole pandemic period, where there's been a bit of an exodus out of the CBDs and the cities. And I'm one of those, like I worked and lived in the city for so long where I could, get to work within 30 minutes of where I lived. And, shopped at all the supermarkets. I went to the markets every weekend. That was probably one of those, not 90% that actually made the effort to go to food sources that I felt were trustworthy, were sustainable, were regenerative, that respected land and weren't like destroying land. So, that I totally thank my dad for, because he, ingrained that in us as a value growing up. But yes, I've noticed like a lot of people I talk to, both that I've worked with, they're like, oh yeah, we decided the city kind of wasn't for us and we wanted to be closer to, nature or closer to, food sources. And just that realization of, that there's kind of another way to live, it doesn't have to be kind of dense city living all the time.
Yeah, and that's you go to the shop and pick what you want. When you grow it, you grow what you like to eat. So, it's more powerful to me. It's just more powerful. But okay, so you got out of the corporate world, and then you had some health issues. Now, what happened then? So before Minerva Wellness, what you said you had another business. What was that? What was that called?
So Resilient One, we still do workplace wellbeing.
Resilient One.
And now we have also Minerva Wellness as well. And really for me, Scott, Minerva Wellness was an opportunity to work directly with individuals as a practitioner, either in supporting their resets through wellbeing day retreats, where we, can help kind of offer the transformation or the container for transformation around mindset, around practices, around daily rituals and routine that can help busy professionals, small business owners, better care for their mental health well-being. We had one client who basically came to every single day retreat, and he owns a IT services business that runs across the Sunshine Coast, and he brought his team members as well. He's like, my guys are coming to this one. And I was like, that's great. Not only is he demonstrating to his team that he's prioritizing his well-being and that it's, important for him as a business owner, as the leader of the business, but he's bringing his staff as well and making it like, this is our well-being day, where we get to have time together, just caring for our well-being. And he came to everyone because he said, look, this is my way of ensuring every quarter that I invest in my well-being once every quarter, because sometimes I'm not good with the weekly routine or the fortnightly routine or even the monthly routine. But if I know I'm coming to a full day out of my business, out of my life, and I'm creating that pause and reset once a quarter, he goes, I feel so much more at the, forefront of and in control of where my well-being's at.
So we're sort of running out of time, but okay.
Maybe there'll be
what's that?
Maybe there'll be a version 2.
Yeah, so I'll go to the third question. So tell us, who's your ideal client, or who's your avatar?
I think, just who I've mentioned. That's pretty quick answer. The small business owner, the busy professional, that's really who we work with. For me as a practitioner personally, because as you know, I am myofascial release, craniosacral, and yoga therapy. And also I do quantum healing with crystal sound therapy as well. For me, my clients are generally women in that 35 to 60 age group who, are either kind of going through motherhood or starting their motherhood journey, and requiring support to, better care for their well-being in a major transition, or women who are going through perimenopause, menopause, and, it's that stage after the kids have grown up. And finally, I've got time for myself. Now I want to care for myself better. How do I do that? So, they're as a practitioner who generally comes to see me one-on-one. With the day retreats, all busy professionals and small business owners.
Yeah, cool. So, I'll go on to the last question because we're running out of time. So what ideas or methods would you use to implement to achieve lifelong longevity?
Oh, look, so much of what we've already spoken about. We've spoken about food as medicine. We've spoken about, nutrition habits. We're talking also we've talked about mindset, and creating those healthy habits for mental health well-being and resets that might be doing your challenge, coming out to one of our day retreats, knowing that you're caring for both the physical longevity and the mental and emotional longevity. The final thing I'll say around that is to really tap into the spiritual domain. In our workplace wellbeing side of what we do at Resilient One, we look at the 4 domains of resilience, which is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. So if we have a gap in one of those 4 domains, then we don't have a strong resiliency foundation. Our baseline has holes in it. So that's a real key component. And for a lot of people, I've noticed it's the spiritual domain. The physical one we can always work on, right? That's a lifelong journey. And so is the mental. The emotional and the spiritual are often the ones that can get missed.
Yeah, true. So we might as well give ourselves a plug. So we've got a presentation coming up on the 30th of July. It's on a Tuesday. It's between 9:30 and 1:30. And myself and Amy and another lady by the name of Nicole Yates. She's been on my podcast before. So we're getting together because of why, Amy? You've got all the stats.
Oh, look, it's really all about mental health and well-being, but also a layer on how that impacts physical. So we're looking at that model, which I think I described, that we have so embedded in Manava and our Polynesian culture, and that is the mind, body, and spirit. So we're caring for all those facets because that's optimal health and that's longevity.
Yeah, that's right. So, if you get a chance, we'll give you a registration number. It'll be through Eventbrite. And if you're interested, we can give you that link. It's going to be targeted at people that are receiving NDIS supplementation, but also those who are caring for those that are recipients of the NDIS. So we really want to help as many people in the NDIS space to, manage their anxiety, number one, but also what Amy just talked about before. So if you're going through all these issues, which I'm sure that majority of the people that are in the NDI space are going through, we want to help you and provide an answer for you. And thank you very much, Amy, for attending the podcast. Thank you for your time. We did pretty well. It was 35 minutes. So
Yeah,
There's
it was.
heaps more I want to talk about because I love talking to you, Amy.
Oh,
It
thank
is
you.
pleasant. It is pleasant.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's been amazing. We do have our wellbeing day retreats like right through the rest of this year as well. So for those who are listening who are small business professionals or busy professionals or small business owners, and you'd like to come along to one of those, if I can mention that, Dr. Scott.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
Yeah, the next one is on the 14th of July in the Sunshine Coast. It's a Sunday, so it's, really kind of planned on a day where you're not going to be like, trying to make that decision of do I sacrifice time in my business? So you can just really be there and dedicate that time to you. We are actually going to be doing some beautiful exploration of Pacifica plant medicine. So we have an amazing Samoan business owner who's coming in, Australian Samoan business owner who's coming in to share about the Pacifica plant medicine, how that herbal medicinal plants are used over in Samoa and Tonga. So you'll get the opportunity to try that. And there'll be some amazing therapies that you can try as well. So I might drop that link in the bottom of our stream on Instagram.
Yeah. So I'll get my VA. I'll get my VA to give you our links, and also you give us your links, and
Right.
Advertise
that would be great. Yeah, I think if we can share your challenge, the link to your health challenge, that would be amazing, because I know some of our listeners might be interested, our followers might be interested in contacting you around what that looks like if they want to get serious on the physical health side and the nutrition. And of course, just look out for the link below for the day retreat. And then we've got the NDIS event coming up later in July.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. Much appreciated for your time. You've been watching the Get Busy Livin podcast with the lovely Amy Livingstone. And thank you so much, Amy, and we'll see you very soon.
Thanks, Dr. Scott. Bye, everyone.